NSC Fan TV. Drew sitting down to have a conversation with Scott about the 1-0 defeat against New England Revolution.
A loss on the road.
Yep.
A loss on the road. So first loss.
First loss.
First conceded goal.
First conceded goal.
So kind of feeling a little bit heartbroken for Joe because I kind of had, I was kind of holding on to hope that we would have a record-breaking season-opening run of that many games, no goals conceded. There was something kind of in the wind about do we have the best defense in the MLS?
Is it that Gary Smith ball paid dividends? That it was gonna be the fortress?
There was something to that thought, and I kind of appreciated it. I think that this was really the first good team that we played. I think that I think that NYC's were both teams that were rebuilding and sort of and looked badly out of sync.
That's right.
I'm just inclined to think that this was the first good team that we played, the first team that might be a real challenge to us, and would be a challenge to us for a high seeded playoff spot.
That's right.
And it showed. And here's the frustrating thing. That's a good team, and it's a storied team, and it's a team that's got a lot to it, and nobody showed up there.
Oh man,
there were a lot more empty seats than there were people in them.
Yeah. When it panned over to the stands, I mean. Yeah.
Nobody was there. And, my family, we were talking about whether or not we were going to go. So it was spring break for all of the schools and so on. So we were talking, it was are we going to go?
Foxborough.
We made it to Foxborough. And I was sitting on the couch with my wife, and I was like, had we gone to that game, we would have owned that stadium.
Owned it. You could have made it your own.
The four of us could have.
I would have been screaming up in there.
It was a ghost town.
I would have been screaming at Mukhtar. I would have been screaming at them too. But I gotta say, it was unfortunate to see that, and especially as you mentioned, the meeting of two teams, which I think were pretty good.
I think we're a good team. They were a good team.
And I think they're pretty damn good too. And to see us only go down 1-0, I mean, it's disheartening for it to be the first defeat for the first goal conceded of the season, but with Bo running at you like that. Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty stellar goal. Yeah. I feel like we've got to give it to him. It was a bad angle, and Joe knew he just got beat. Yeah. I mean, it was a situation where it would have been tough for him to have even been in that spot to defend it. He was poised. He had been on his P's and Q's that whole game.
I thought he had a good game overall. I think that the defense kind of failed him. It looked like Moore was out of position.
That's right.
And then that forced Mayer to slide over. Zimmerman had got pulled up to be able to jump a ball, and so the defense was just all out of sync for Bo's goal. But credit to Bo. I mean, that was a really finely struck ball.
It was stellar. It was surgical. Yeah. Honestly, I didn't feel bad about that one going in, which is weird because I felt like everyone was tempting fate with undefeated, no goals conceded. There's something deeply superstitious in my inner being, where I feel like I just got to scare Nemesis off. One good time, knock that wood again, but. I don't know. I didn't feel bad about that. I thought, you know what? With Wood running down.
So Bobby Wood was creating all sorts of fright for us.
Yeah, and with Bo being so, I think, poised out on that kind of inner wing area, I really just. It's not that I saw the goal coming or anything like that, but I wasn't mad about it happening because I thought they're a good team. They're poised to attack well, and they did that.
So they're a good team. The one drawback to it is that they were still undermanned.
Yeah,
because
that's right.
Carlos Gil didn't play for them. Yeah. And so, it does give me a little bit of pause where it's like, okay, look, we beat some teams that were rebuilding and don't really look so great. What are we going to look like whenever we play against a team that's really kind of class of the East quality?
Yeah. Fully staffed.
And so, and teams like Philadelphia and Atlanta are teams that give me some pause. Yeah. And Cincinnati again has sort of shown themselves to be a team that can play with some class, but then they go and then just get thrashed by Chicago. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
So maybe Chicago's turned things around. What do I know? But I mean, so I've got a little bit of concern about the Cincinnati game coming up. But we've shown ourselves to be able to beat teams that are not good. That's good. There's some good news there.
There's some good news. That's not bad news. Like, don't mishear it. Yeah, don't take it wrong. But
we struggled.
At the same time, you're right.
Yeah. We struggled. We struggled with the team that's good, and I think that the other part to it that makes me a little bit worried, and is where do the goals come from if Mukhtar's not on his game? I'm
not gonna lie. Why I said I'd be yelling at Mukhtar, I didn't feel like he was on this game. I thought he was in the perfect position for his 10-10-10 role.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was on his P's and Q's. I think Joe was. I think a lot of the defense, for the most part, was, except for some of those scrambles, like you mentioned, that let that goal in. But I didn't think Mukhtar was supremely effective that game. I don't know if it's that it was an off game for him. I don't know if it was.
He's got to have a 9 in front of him that actually makes the defense. Because what happened every time that he got the ball, he would have at least one defender completely crash him, and then they would play team defense on him.
And then that's enough to stop any stepovers from doing any magic.
Yeah, and if you've got a 9, that's going to make them afraid, they're not going to bail on They're not going to bail on him.
Yeah.
And the problem was that the 2 9s that we had out there were not enough of a threat to make the defense really blanch at crashing Mukhtar.
Yeah, that's right.
So. But he did have a couple step over things that created a couple chances. I mean, there were a couple that kind of fizzed by the goal. You're like, the magic.
A few that forced them to give up a corner. Yeah, I mean, so there were moments where there was a little bit of magic in the step overs, but just not as much as we're used to. We given the 2 assists right back to back at home.
Yeah.
I did like seeing Moyle start. I felt really.
So I'm curious about this. So Moyle over Fafa, Moyle over Fafa on that right side.
Because I liked it.
I disagree with you.
That's fair.
I want to hear your case. I've got a case myself.
My case is that he's a damn fighter.
I agree with that.
But I think the problem though is that he, in many senses, isn't as, and I mean this isn't going forward, positive of a player as Fafa.
Right.
And so I think that's one thing to note. But man, he was fighting for that ball, and I just love to see his determination and grit. I mean, it got him a yellow.
Yep.
It got him a yellow for protestation. But I thought that one was a little cheap. But whatever. I just love to see him run. I think it might be a case of favoritism. I
love him as a player, and I love to see his grit. I love to see the hustle. I mean, I am a huge fan of hustle.
Hustle man.
But Fafa changes the way the defenses play. He gets behind people. He's faster than Moyle.
Yeah,
he may not, but he's not kind of got the Moyle versatility because Moyle will come back a little bit more. Though it does look like Fafa. To give Fafa some credit, he did help out on defense a couple times, and so but just in terms of like what we need in the front, is we need a winger who. Part of this is about like we need goals to come from somewhere.
And the cross game's too strong for no one to be on the end of those. And so you're right. You know what? I'm not going to take back what I said. But I'll say, in light of the fact that I was complaining to you earlier, which not on camera, but it is now, about how I didn't think we looked as great as we did in the first half as the second half. Fafa coming on did change.
Fafa might have changed that.
Him coming on as late as he did, but him coming on did change how they had to respond to the wings.
And we played with some urgency in the second half. We played with a little bit more urgency. There was a little bit of the sort of the rope-a-dope Gary Smith ball being played in the first half where we're like, where I looked at it and I was like, are we going to go for a 0-0 tie in this game?
There's no way.
Is that what's happening here?
Schaffelberg was playing like it was down 3-0 from the first minute, though. And that was a little bit alarming, I thought. But I liked the urgency from him before it was needed, but he ran himself dry. Fast.
He ran, and so I love his hustle. I love that. Like he's another hustle kid. But he was playing like he was only going to play for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
like he was just
he was like, I'm going to get you. I'm doing that. Yeah. He got out there and was just running full tilt every time the ball was near him. And on the one hand, love to see that. You're like,
dude, when we hit 60 minutes, like, you're just going to be garbage.
Yeah, it's not going to be great. Who was their left back? Was it Bai? I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think I was going to mention something about him before we get out of the midfield situation. I felt like Pico actually did deal with Bai better than Moyle did.
Okay.
I think that's one thing I've got to give him, because I thought Bai was stellar on their left wing. He was sending cross after cross through, and I think had good field awareness. Yeah. Which is of course something you need in a winger. But yeah, so I feel like Pico dealt with that better than Moyle, which was surprising, I think.
So then maybe a question, because our setup has changed from a 4-4-2 to sort of a 4-2-3-1, and I guess my question for you is, did you see that changed or dictated anything differently to their offense? So you were commenting about how really a lot of play was coming from their left back. That looks like it's sort of forcing them out, but he was playing these diagonal balls that again are the sort of the 4-4-2 killer balls.
Yeah,
right?
they cut right through, and yeah. That's a good point, or that's a good question, really.
Did it change the way that offenses look to us?
I think it's probably the case, because we were noticing it at home, even when it felt like there's a way in which 4-2-3-1 can collapse into a 4-4-2 in secret.
Because that center three comes up and is a second forward.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it might stuff the two formations almost similarly. Yeah. And so I think it makes sense to still look at this dilemma of, okay, we want the virtues of the 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, but we also want to avoid those diagonal balls just cutting our midfield and literally splitting it in half. Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's still a threat to that setup, and I think that we do collapse into 4-4-2 pretty regularly, though.
Yeah. Now, I think that the one difference is that the 4-2-3-1 does allow Mukhtar a little bit more distance between between him and the front line. Yeah. There's a drawback to it, which is that it makes him impatient. Yeah, I think. Yeah, because there were a number of times in the game wherever he was coming back, and he was sort of he was all the way back with the CDMs collecting the ball, and it was one of these things where it was like, look, I mean, can you trust Dax to make a pass? Like,
no, that's right. No, that's
you don't have to come back and collect it and dribble it up to where you want it.
That's ridiculous. That's a waste. That's a waste of his skill. That's a waste of his talent and a waste of his energy. That's a really salient point. Now, I thought that.
Now that may have again, because we were watching on television, it may have changed some other geometry on the field that we didn't see, because it could be that Mukhtar dropping back to collect maybe allows wings to come forward, maybe it allows because again because we were watching on television, we couldn't see everyone, and so maybe one of the CDMs came up towards the end of the game. We saw Mukhtar coming back to collect, and we saw Zimmerman going all the way forward. Yeah, which was wacky.
Almost saw him score today too.
Let's take a moment and appreciate that. What a towering, crushing, post rattling header!
Absolutely rattled that post. I mean, yeah.
Could have, should have, would have, man.
I mean, if it was just maybe 3 inches lower, it would have just pink.
Yeah,
would have been 1 point.
And that game would have gone very differently, because I think that we probably could have been able to weather a little bit more of their urgency storm.
So notice here what's going on. It's that we did lose, we did concede our first goal of the season, we took our first L, but at the same time we acknowledge how they're a good team. We feel like we're in a position to be able to handle them for the most part and almost score on them at least once. Yeah, I mean. So I don't think
there's bad news in here, but it's not crushingly bad.
It's not crushingly bad. I don't feel bad about this loss. Revolution's a great team. They've been a great team, and so you don't expect to go. This isn't a team you just waltz in and win when you're away against them. You know. Yeah. When they come to the Fortress, we might have a different story.
Yeah, I hope we beat them here. And it's a team that was missing heel. Yeah. They were missing, and so again, he's somebody who's on the roster, but they also lost Tajon Buchanan.
Huge loss.
Huge difference in terms of, because they look different without Buchanan. That guy changes so much because he's just so fast.
He's so fast, man. He blows. He's
Canada.
He is their front man. But then they gained Romney, And I felt like he had a good game against us.
He had a good game against us.
And getting Wood is, that's no small.
Well, yeah.
Small, like,
so yeah, getting Bobby Wood, he did I mean, I remember the sort of the terror that he struck into us whenever he played at RSL.
Yeah.
And so just the sort of the fits that he gave our defense last year. I'm not happy to see him again.
No, I have in the red, white, and blue. Happy to see him every time.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Against us, his soccer IQ is like 300.
Yeah.
He's sitting on Einstein soccer IQ because he's just his runs are insane.
Yeah,
his runs are really insane. Bo's run was insane. Also, if you look at like
Bo's a good player.
Like if you look stop motion on like how onside he was for that was crazy.
Yeah,
but what I think matches what Bo did there for multiple occasions, honestly. Wood soccer IQ is too high, and so the defense knew that and really had to keep him locked down.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the midfield.
Let's talk about the midfield.
So I thought that Sean Davis did not have a good day.
I agree.
I think that he missed. There were a lot of tackles missed. There were a lot of not great balls forward.
Yeah.
Davis did not have a great day, and so and I was really pleasantly surprised to see Jean Gregas come out.
Yeah.
And so welcome to Nashville.
Yeah.
And a lot of really positive balls. Saw him make a really nice tackle. But his passing looked like it was really sharp, crisp, smart, forward.
Yeah.
And so not somebody who was going to be like, okay, I can collect the ball and then rotate it around or give it back to someone who can make the forward passes. He's like, no, I can make a forward pass. I'll find you.
I love seeing that.
So I thought that he had a I guess I'm trying to remember when he came on here. So he came on at 79. So he had about 12 minutes of play, and it was all positive. I mean, there's nothing negative to say about his play. It was just came on and contributed and contributed to an offense that needed some urgency. And so, great.
I think that's great. And a player back there like that's what you need. I think as you mentioned earlier, a little bit worried about him being in Dax's boots, And that's just the too many Daves kind of problem.
Yeah, right.
But, so it's, that's not anything particular to him.
Yeah.
But welcome to Nashville. Glad to have him on, and I see positive forward passes in our future because of him. Yeah,
I agree. And so again, I think that the thing that we did want to mention was that it did look like he and Dax were like, I'm the six. No, I'm the six. He's like, we're playing with two sixes. What
Might as well have a third six coming in. He's really making a party.
So there were a couple moments where it was like, they were totally in each other's boots. But I think that, you give it even one more. They're both, those two, and I think that all of our CDMs are such smart players. They're going to figure that out, and it's not going to be a problem at all.
I was railing on Pico for that first couple games. Give him 3 games, he's absolutely in form. He's where he needs to be. He's overlapping with more how he should.
Yeah.
Great. So,
he and the coaching staff, he's dialed in. I think that Gregas is going to be the same way.
Right.
I've only got one complaint, and it's not about Gregas per se. It's just about the fact that, we recruited another CDM.
Yeah.
And who's 32. And so, again, he played great and all that. But you know what? We need forwards. Where are the goals going to come from? Even if Mukhtar has another Golden Boot winning season, that's not enough goals to get us into the playoffs. And if it is into the playoffs, it's into one of those play-in spots. And so, I have concerns. And for as smart as I think Bunbury is, the size of his contributions in their quarter. I think that he's a good contributor in the middle half. He holds up balls. He's a good target guy. He can do all of those things. But the problem is that in their third, I see nothing. And we haven't yet seen enough of Sapong to be able to judge the game, and that in some ways is part of the problem.
Yeah. Man, so this is we're talking about formation earlier. This is one of those problems with kind of 4-4-2-ish setups, is that when things don't go great for those two up there, you have a real hard time making magic happen.
And then the 4-2-3-1 is it puts a lot of pressure on the guy playing on the one. And you've got to, and again, the issue here isn't whether or not you score in the goals. It's just whether or not you might say you're doing enough to change the way that the defense plays, so that the three behind you have got some space to go.
Yeah.
And I just was not seeing. I mean, again, Bunbury was doing great whenever the ball was in the midfield. The ball would the ball would get lofted to him, skip off that head, off the shoulder, or something like that.
Yeah.
Mwah, so perfect. Move it into their third.
Yeah.
I've just not seen it. Just not seen it.
Yeah. No, then that's not what you need to see. I mean, I think we'll see in the games to come, of course. I'm honestly a Sapong stan, so I'm going for him no matter what. I think that him as the one might actually be good in the sense that he would just run at people and create space for those three in the back. But I don't know. I mean, I think their game is different. When Sapong comes on, things do change. Is it necessarily for the better? A lot of people aren't going to say yes.
He's a disruptor.
But he's a disruptor. And
he's a disruptor.
In a 4-2-3-1, someone like that is really nice for those three attacking midfielders.
So he changes their defense not when we have the ball. He changes their defense. He changes the way they hold the ball.
They have the ball, and those are the moments where the three really come in handy because he's up there messing with stuff and they can pounce. Yeah. So working from a defensively minded team with Gary Ball, counterattacks are going to be your strength. Counterattacks are going to be your strength. Moments where you get it, there's a reversal and you turn things around. I think players like Sapong really help to make that happen. So I don't know.
So hopefully we see CJ.
I'm hoping for the president. I want to see the president out against Cincy. I want to see the president out there against Cincy. I'm serious. I'm ride or die for Sapong. Sapong, don't let me down.
So yeah, I could be down with that, and then we see maybe a 60-minute sub, given his work rate in the front and things like that. See a 60-minute sub and either Bunbury or Zubak?
Bring Zubak on.
I want to see some magic from Zubak.
Yeah, he's so damn fast. He's probably our fastest player.
He might be. He might. I don't know. Maybe Fafa.
Fafa now,
maybe
actually,
Fafa,
Fafa.
Maybe more.
No, Fafa might. Yeah. Well, in terms of a real, attacking-minded player.
Yeah.
It's between Pico and now. And him,
I take. But here's the thing. Finding someone who can play that consistently is the challenge that this team's facing.
Yeah.
And I think that Gregus is a good player, and I'm happy that he's going to be on, and that we've got the CDM role completely locked down now.
Oh yeah, there should be no worry about
CDM anymore.
We don't have to worry about the
I don't think we even had to worry about the.
But now, if you had to worry, you absolutely should just let it go. But in terms of that one, yeah.
So last player I wanted to talk about was Dan Lovitz.
Lovitz. Okay,
so he had a chance on goal coming from the side and kind of spread it a little wide. It's a righty foot.
I was about to say it. You got it. I was about to say it was on the right. So I was like, then I saw the right wind up, and I was like, no. But I like the idea.
Yeah, I
like the idea.
Him coming all the way up like that. That's great. That's great. And that's one of the benefits.
Idea.
That's one of the benefits of the sort of the flexibility that arrangement's got, is that those two on the outside can do some overlap work. And he's got the wheels to do it.
He does, yeah.
So
and Lovitz, he's one of those players where you can usually expect him to play 90.
Yeah.
It's just like Rami in the sense that you can expect Lovitz to come on and just burn through the whole way. I mean, that's the way I see Lovitz. It's just when things are dicey on that left side, I mean, chances are he can either clean up, or when it's time to go forward, he'll move it down. I think he's just a real workhorse player. Yeah,
he's a workhorse player, and wish that he had gotten that goal, but
it was on the right.
It was on the right.
There's no come on. It's
mostly good for standing on.
Yeah. So when that happened, I was like, damn it.
It's the right foot for Lovitz.
He's poised to take it. It was with the right.
It's the right angle though.
Yeah.
All right, are we done?
I said my piece.
Okay, NSC Fan TV.